That guy was a concept that I came up with a number of years ago. I think it's about 5 years now. And the concept was to bring together Ken Wilber, Bernie Glassman, and myself, just because we're old, good friends and we all love one another.
Right.
And to come together with a common purpose, which is really, I would say, that we all have the same purpose, and I think we share it with literally millions of people, which is how do we raise the level of consciousness on this planet? What can we do to do that? And what can we do to get all on the same team? In other words, that we're all working together with one another rather than against one another to bring about awakening, awareness, and a raising of consciousness on the planet. And so I called up both Ken and Bernie.
Called up the old buddies.
Called them up and said, I got this concept, this idea I'd like to put forth to you. And both of them were just totally pickled pink or whatever you call it.
Tickled pink. Pickled pink.
Whatever the saying is, they were gung-ho.
Yeah.
And so we came together and we've had a number of meetings and we've come up with a purpose, a statement of purpose and all that. And really what it's all about is, I kind of make the analogy of a rowing team or a crew team where we're all rowing together in harmony, in sync, rather than opposing one another or opposite one another, so that we really can make some headway on this planet. Because I see that the only real hope for this planet is that we have to become conscious.
Yeah.
We all just have to become more conscious.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
Well, I feel that if we end up where we're heading, it's not good.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel that we're reaching a critical mass in both directions. One is with the possibility of just destroying the planet as we know it. We're all aware of that. I also feel that consciousness is growing and that it is an evolving thing, our consciousness. And I had this intuition that probably if we could get 10 to 20% of the planet's population to the next level of consciousness, the whole planet would evolve. Mm-hmm. And subsequently, I've talked to Ken about this, and Bernie and I have talked about it, and Ken says, actually, the history shows that if we can get 10%, so it was actually the minimum that I had thought intuitively, but if we can get 10% of the world's population to the next level of a kind of global consciousness, we will raise the level on the whole planet. Yeah. Kind of like the hunter-monkey syndrome. Right. And what Ken has said is that maybe about 3% of the world's population is now there. Right. And another 20% is nearly there. So if we can get another, say 7 or 8% of the world's population there, it will happen. And I do believe, I'm very positive about it, I have a very positive outlook that we will do it. Some predict by 2012, and I think it might be a little longer than that, but somewheres in the next number of years that we will manage to do this. Another analogy that I've used to describe what we're trying to do is if you've got a car that won't start, and let's say it's on a slight decline. In other words, it's just ready to move, but it needs, it just get over that inertia. And if we can just put our backs into it, our shoulders into it, enough of us, we can actually push the car and jumpstart it. Yeah, and reach that critical mass or that turning point, but that kind of shift. And I feel like right now so much of spiritual and psychological work and consciousness work is we're all kind of doing our own thing. And there are people like Bill Gates and of course Warren Buffett, and there are people like former President Bill Clinton and others who are doing amazing work in certain areas, including money and financing. And then there are the spiritual leaders all trying to do something. And then there's the consciousness people, and there's the New Age people, and the psychological people. And everybody's trying to do something, and if we could just combine forces and support each other so that we're not in conflict with one another, and come from a more global view in that way too, where we're all really one and on the same ship, planet Earth, you know, and that we really need to make this difference. I believe it's going to happen and it can happen, and that was the whole concept of the vast sky.
So then as vast sky, do you see it as really sort of functioning as a magnet for other people to be attracted to and work together, or?
Absolutely.
You do?
Absolutely. That's
Very
exactly,
cool.
that's a nice way to put it too. I do see it as a magnet. I do see that as the founders, the three of us can attract other people.
Right.
And what I'd like to do is really open it up at this point to all those who really have the same common purpose,
Right.
which is to awaken sentient beings,
Right.
to bring people to more evolved consciousness, and to really make a difference on this planet.
Right. And for some people, the leap between a higher level of consciousness and a peaceful world, that's kind of a gap. They don't understand maybe why would a higher level of consciousness produce a more peaceful, more sane, environmentally friendly world? Maybe you could.
Sure, and I think it's a good question, and it's one I normally don't even think about because I just take it for granted that we all know that.
Right.
But a higher level of consciousness, what I mean by that is when we have an awakened experience, even if it's just a glimpse or if it's a full-blown enlightenment experience, what we see is that we're all one. It's
Yeah.
one body, one mind, one.
Right.
Okay? And we see that the only way to really work is to work in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
If we, like, let's say, use the analogy of our body, if every organ in our body saw itself as independent and separate, you know, then it'd be at odds.
It would be a disaster.
It'd be a disaster. It'd be a dysfunctional body.
Right.
But the body works as one, and we need to see that we are one body. I don't mean one physical body, but we are one body in consciousness and in a deeper sense of awareness. Kind of like if we look at the surface of the ocean and we see all these different waves, and each wave represents a different person, a different individual, but just under the surface, it's one body of water.
Right.
Well, that really we are one body, and once we awaken to that, what it brings up is love and compassion and wisdom. We call prajna wisdom, a transcendent wisdom where we're all one. And also a differentiation wisdom, a wisdom that can distinguish between me and you and still come from a place that we are one and yet we are unique. We are each our own individuals, and yet we are still one.